I believe we are live. Hello, everyone. Round 3 of XP Live at 5 Expose. So thanks for joining if you're live, and thank you for watching if you are not live. We decided to round up our week and share it with you guys, to share our ups, downs, struggles, what we do in our business day to day, and sort of show you the diversification of roles and tasks that business owners go through. We obviously manage 5 businesses, Aura Architecture, Ben's architectural practice, XP Property, the development property business, XP Surveys, our measured building and topographical surveying business. We run a social portfolio, which we've been building up for 2 years, and Central Suites, the property lettings and management company. So in this episode, we'll be sharing a bit more about what we've been up to this week. If you haven't watched our exposes, go and watch last week and the week before. Both of them are quite deal heavy because we had a few completions going through with quite exciting schemes, which we've been badgering away working on in terms of design. But this week is much more the sort of business fundamentals, and we'll be going into recruitment, we'll be going into hiring, we'll be going into accounts, we'll be going into events. And then unfortunately, we have someone leaving the company, which we'll also go into detail. So stay tuned for who's leaving and why. And feel free, we're shared across all platforms and we can see questions live. So if you've got any questions, fire them in the comments box, and we will hopefully answer them. So kicking off, company reviews. So this isn't something that we've discussed before on these exposes. So every member of staff that joins us normally comes from the standard format of job descriptions drawn up, put on online portals or shared with a recruiter, and someone joins the company. A staff review, and we had it with our lead surveyor on Monday, is basically after 3 months you do it, so their probationary period end. We'd then suggest you do it every 3 months until you feel like you could go 6 monthly or annually. We tend to go 2-3 month reviews, then 1 6 months, then annualized. But the purpose of a staff review is you're measuring 2 things. The input, so this is their attendance, their punctuality, their delivery day to day, how they present themselves, how they're working, and their sort of energy into the role. And you're also measuring their output, which is the skills and professionalism that you advertised for yourself on the job description. So we measure these 2 factors. Normally, if the input is there, that member of staff could normally learn and adapt and be more upskilled. But if the input isn't there, you really need to focus down on that. And when you maybe need to analyze what's making it sticky for them, where's their friction, how could you help them improve their input? Some senior levels, they come in with great output, great skill, great experience, but they might need to be adapted. So we're always reviewing that input and output with our staff. So we're happy to share our company review form that we do, and you sit down with the member of the team and you go through line by line what they're supposed to be doing, what they have done, how they've been doing it, and what their input and output are like. So that's a bit of a summary on input output reviews for staffing. And we find this great because it sort of levels the playing field. It gives them an opportunity to share ideas, concerns, or things that they need in their job, and we're not necessarily helping them do the best job. But it also helps us understand their day-to-day work. Another thing we love asking at the very beginning of our reviews is we ask them what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. We're big believers that if everyone's playing off their strengths, which tends to be things that you enjoy, you formulate a much better team. That's pretty much staff reviews. Ben, do you have anything else to add on staff reviews?
Other than sorry that we're late today, all my fault, and I'm just in the background trying to sort stuff out whilst Jack talks. But hello everyone, thanks for joining us if you are joining us. That's a really good overview of why company reviews are important and kind of what we do as a company. Second thing on the list is we made a job offer this week to a new recruit for XP Property. Jack, I'll let you kind of dig a bit deeper in that also.
So we indicated that we had a really positive interview with a qualified QS to be a project manager. We also this week offered a role to a measured building surveyor to come into the team with some experience to join the team from the measured building surveying practice. Again, on the topic of recruitment and your team, we wanted to highlight that it's not easy hiring for skilled or professional roles. So we pretty much always have a job description role advertised in the background. We see a lot of our fellow business owners do this too. So we have, for this measured building surveying role, we have a job description up live on sites, and it's very sporadic that we get inquiries, but when it does, we jump to it. We interview them. Our interview process, this is becoming very recruitment heavy now, which doesn't bother me because I know it. Our interview process is we sift the CVs. So we go through, we look at, see what we like. We then select a handful, normally 5 to 10, that we would like to make a telephone call with. One of us does an initial telephone call. The normal key factors that we ask the individual in an interview process is their current situation, whether they're in work or not work, and why they would like to join our business and leave their prerequisite role, what they enjoy doing, what they don't enjoy, previous experience, how long they've been at their previous companies, ideally if they haven't jumped around too much, i.e. within 2 years of previous employment, that's good. Where they're located, do they have a car, what their salary expectations are, what their notice period is. And then once you have all that information from all these CVs, hopefully you get a better feel for who would be the best person to take that forward. So we were fortunate that we took someone all the way through to the final stage and offered them a job. But the sort of key learning there is processing recruitment, and also make sure if it's a professional or skilled role, there's no harm in always having it advertised. So as you may know, we now have 4 full-time surveyors and 2 part-time surveyors in our business. We will always need more surveyors. So that job role is pretty much live all the time, which is great for bringing in good talent, because it's not easy with everything with Crossrail and construction at the moment. There's a lot of resources being pulled into those huge infrastructure projects. So it's very difficult for a small company like us to sort of stick out and stand out, especially with the salaries that those big jobs are paying, and bring good talent to us. And we discussed on I think it was 2 weeks ago, how we've actually secured quite a lot of talent from our social media following. So doing videos like these, or just putting yourself out there and sharing what you do, does come as a huge benefit. Good. I think that was.
The next
do you want to go on to?
Yeah, I'll have a quick chat about this. So finance reviews and having good bookkeeping is really tough. No matter what size of company you are, small or big, it's so important to have a good system in place when it comes to your finances. We have monthly management accounts in Aura. We are currently setting them up in XP Surveys. Certainly for service-based businesses, having monthly management accounts that show a true representation of kind of where your company is and how they performed the previous month really helps to set standards and tweak things to improve them going forward. If you don't, I think that the term is you can't improve what you don't measure, or something around that. So if you don't know what your company is doing in terms of profit and loss, your targets of gross profit margins, net profit margins, that you can't tweak things to improve it and get better. So we had our review this week with our new accountants and bookkeepers. We wanted to make the transition for the XP group to someone that understands property, somebody that understands both investment property, development property, and also service-based businesses like XP Surveys. But we've now got a structure in place where ultimately we've kind of got our in-house processes that upload invoices, send invoices as part of the Xero accounting software. But we've got a whole now team behind that who run the sort of monthly bookkeeping. We've got a finance manager that has a bit of a higher level approach to kind of manage the bookkeepers. And then we've also got an FD, sort of finance director on top of that gives us more of a holistic view with the finances across the business. As we grew and as we are continuing to grow, it's a minefield. We've got various SPVs, so special purpose vehicles for different development projects. We've got an investment entity for our hold and our investment properties. We've got development SPV. We've got trading companies. We've got a group structure. There's lots going on, and we were finding it very, very difficult to keep on top of all the ins and outs of all of those businesses from a finance perspective. And I'm sure this can resonate with a lot of developers and investors out there, whereby having control and cash flow forecasting forward, management accounts to look back, and just a day-to-day insight into all of those businesses, an up-to-date day-to-day clarity on your finances is just going to help us take our businesses to the next level, with the view to kind of looking 6 months ahead in terms of our cash flow position. Where do we need to bring money in? Where are we getting money back? Where can we spend that money or utilize that money or invest that money on new schemes? And then also looking back at our performance. And it's for me a massively missed piece of the puzzle for any business. And I don't really care how big or small the company is, having clarity and a firm grasp on your finances is fundamental to business success. So we had a good finance review. We've only been working with this team for sort of a couple of months. So this was our sort of final review of the first stage, getting all of our accounts up to scratch, getting Xero running how it should be, getting all the codes entered how they should be. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of take the next step, which is doing the cash flow forecast and looking ahead now at how we can optimize and make our business more efficient and give us a better understanding of our cash position. So yeah, stay tuned. We might give an insight into kind of how that looks, so that hopefully it could help a few of you guys out as well.
Well, I'm going to dive in there and say, if you did want to see who we are using for all this bookkeeping and financial management accounts, it's Josh Keegan. He's got his own podcast, so you can sort of give his podcast a listen and see if it's something that might benefit your business. His podcast is called Ultimate FD Podcast, and that's on Spotify. Bit of a shout out for Josh there.
Yeah, I mean, I found, talking about social media and how these platforms kind of can benefit your business and bring in customers. Fundamentally, I found Josh on Spotify. I've listened to every single one of his podcasts. Every Sunday he releases a new one, and Monday morning on my way to work I generally listen to it, and it's full of useful information from a finance director's perspective about how you should be running your business. And yeah, we're now working with Josh to improve the way that we run ours.
Very good. On to the next point.
Yeah, I'm trying to do stuff in the background to get this one ready. It may be a bit premature, but anyway, I'll do that whilst I talk. So I'm excited today, and whether it's today or Monday, I've still got to do some final review. But if you follow Aura Architecture and you've been following our progress on YouTube, we are documenting and creating videos that sort of show the progress of a lot of our clients' projects. Some of those will be XP developments, but a lot are homeowner projects where we're taking a house, we are transforming it to create, essentially some fantastic homes in London and the surrounding areas. We've got a number of house tours on the YouTube channel, on Aura Architecture's YouTube channel. So head over and like and subscribe that. And in the next couple of days, we will be releasing our latest project, which is in Southwest London. I'm trying to get some little teaser shots up, if I can, in the background. Let's go. Yeah, here we go. Screen share. And
I haven't seen this yet, so I'm excited to see it. Hot off the press.
Yeah. So
we're in set. Yeah,
can you see that? Yeah. So it basically is a large single-story extension that we did to this beautiful kind of semi-detached property in Streatham. Created an amazing open-plan kitchen, dining, living space. Looks a little bit like this from the rear with nice big Crittall windows, but the inside space is really where it comes to life. And we're going to be talking through that project in the new house tour that will be released probably Monday now. But the kitchen looks fantastic. You'll see here. There's a little hidden pantry behind these doors here, which you wouldn't know about. It just looks like a kitchen front, but actually when you open that up, it's like a bit of a TARDIS with a pantry behind it, large kitchen island, some really nice finishes. And yeah, I won't ruin too much. Watch the tour, head over and follow Aura Architecture on YouTube. And yeah, hope you enjoy the little insights into some of our clients' projects from start to finish.
Very good. I liked the pink pantry.
Mm-hmm.
So on to Brendan Quinn's event. So yesterday afternoon, I headed to London to the Central London property event that Brendan runs every month. He's currently in the process of putting together the National Development Summit, which is an annual event, and I would 100% recommend going to his monthly and at least try it 100% at his National Development Summit. It's a really good event with normally about 120 people doing some really interesting things with interesting speakers. But yesterday was the monthly event. I had the pleasure of chairing a panel which was taglined Thriving in Uncertainty. So we had 3 people on the panel, a chap called Mottle, who's a investment buyer and does a lot of purchase lease options and title splitting. We had Malkit from Savoy Properties doing a very similar thing to us. And then we had Bruce, who runs Bond Finance. So we had a good spread on the panel. The benefit for you is I can now condense everything that we learned on that panel, and you don't have to travel to London to go and watch it. So what did we learn? Bruce shared that the funding lines, exit mortgages, and most lending to limited companies is looking a lot more positive than it was over the last sort of 3 or 4 months, basically since Liz Truss decided to make things difficult for business owners and the financial markets. So funding rates are actually coming down. The swap rates are looking better than they were. They've come down. If you want to know what swap rates is, I could probably give you a bad explanation, but it's fundamentally what banks buy their debt for and lock it in for a term. So it's good to look at 5-year swap rates and what percentage that costs the banks. And then you can sort of work out where our interest rates are going to fall since then. I'd highly recommend Googling that because I'm not a financial advisor or technically in that space day to day. So funding's looking good, rates coming down. Another really key point which Bruce and Malkit mentioned, which I completely agree with, is planning. Don't necessarily go into planning unless you schedule enough time to be in planning. That's full planning. Maybe look at permitted development deals or refurbishment deals, because the planning and the authorities are extremely slow and a little bit more unpredictable than they normally are. And this time puts you in 2 different areas of risk. Financial risk, because obviously you're carrying debt for a longer period of time. Second to that, market risk. We've all heard talks of the market potentially changing this year. One thing that you can control is how quickly you're turning around projects. If you're doing a 6-month project, you're probably at less risk than a 12-month project, for example, or less market risk anyway. So that was a really key point. There have been talks of a particular lender, and I don't really mind talking about who they were, because we've had problems with them before, but there's been talks of Shawbrook Bank being extremely slow internally. So if anyone's out there looking in application process for a mortgage, make sure you plan for that additional time if Shawbrook look like your best option, because they're internally quite slow. And then last but not least, why would you attend a property event like Brendan Quinn's event? I went to the event yesterday and bumped into a guy called Matt, who runs basically a development funding business called Quanta. And the first time I actually met him was in that room. And so you can sort of see the power of networking. I met him probably 3 or 4 years ago in that exact room. Since then, we've done a substantial amount of lending and deals with him. And he today has been one of our best lending partners for development funding. And I'm sure we will continue doing work with Matt. But that just goes to the power of being in the right room at the right time and networking at those events.
Good stuff.
On to the next one. So the sad news is Saul, our first ever employee in XP Property, is sadly leaving XP to do much bigger and better things. He's decided to sack the boss, which Ben and I are familiar with hearing that phrase, and he's fundamentally going to buy a boat, well, a small yacht really, start off in the Mediterranean, and his plan is to sail around the world. It's been a life dream that he's had for over a decade, and we're really pleased that he can go and execute that, at a young age and really enjoy himself out there. So if there's anyone out there that's ever engaged with Saul while we've been working as XP Property, send him a message. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. After this live, we've got his leaving drinks, and Ben and I had a nice leaving fry up with him this morning, which was very classy. But he's been a great asset to the team, and is also a co-investor with us in some of our projects. So we're sad to see him go, but we'll probably still be doing deals with him remotely. So there we go.
We look forward to meeting him on his boat moored up in the Mediterranean somewhere in the coming months. So looking forward to that. Good stuff. Sales on fire. I'm interested to hear about this one. This is with Central Suites Limited, which is Jack's business with his brother. So, I don't know too much about what's going on. So these updates on a Friday are actually useful for me to give an insight into what he's up to in that business.
Yeah, so at the beginning of this year, we hired a part-time sales guy who's actually one of Rob's school friends, and he's called Patrick. At the sort of beginning of the year, Rob and I did our goals, as we mentioned in our first expose recording. It's really essential to set annualized goals to keep on track. That then cuts down to quarterly goals and monthly goals. With those monthly goals, what I wanted to discuss today is if you need to drive business, whatever your business may be, whether it's service-based business or in property or property development, or you need to drive deals into your business, you need to be setting KPIs. It sounds quite mundane, but if you don't do the activity, there won't be the deals. So at the beginning of this month, we set ourselves a target to get out 20 offers this month, because we wanted to really push deal flow. And that's a combination of different types of deals, HMOs, rental HMO projects. We've managed to exceed that 20 offers out, and we have secured 4 deals this month alone. And it just goes to show the power of activity. When you're in a highly fast-paced, process-driven sales position, which technically sourcing projects is, especially on the smaller scale on development side of things, less sort of acquisition based, but more sales. If you don't have those KPIs in, you can get a bit lost and you can lose traction. So just a sort of share of a win, really, that we've secured 4 deals this month, which 2 are already signing contract and 2 more are coming through the woodwork, which we'll hopefully sign off in the next week. And that's great work from Patrick, Rob, who's also in Central Suites, but just goes to show you the power of KPIs. And then also you can work out your ratios. So we've got about a 25% success rate. So we now know what we need to be doing activity-wise to secure that amount again. So key one on KPIs, even though it's a bit mundane. Over to panels.
Good stuff, Mr. Tesla. Yeah, just an update on where things are at. I mentioned last week we were getting solar panels installed on the roof. So I just thought I'd show everyone where we're at. They're installed, they're live, they're up and running. This was from yesterday afternoon. A couple of people asked me afterwards about a bit more of the detail. So these 8 panels, the panels actually, interestingly, aren't the expensive thing. These panels are 225 quid each. That's not really the expensive bit. Scaffolding is £1,000. The commissioning and all the electrics that go with it is like 1,500 quid. The inverter's a couple of grand. It is kind of all of these things add up that go with the panels. The panels actually are really cheap, but everything that goes around it is the bit that makes it expensive. So we're spending around about 8,250 quid on this whole system. It comes with an inverter, which looks a little bit like this. This inverter is a more expensive one because I wanted to basically allow myself the flexibility to have a battery added on at a later date. So if once we get the system up and running, because we've got electric cars, we can generate and drive some of that energy to the electric car and maybe utilize that as a sort of semi-battery. If we feel like we're wasting a lot of energy selling it back to the grid, then a battery might actually be the best option to kind of bring in and plug into the system so that we can store that energy that would have otherwise been sold back to the grid at about 5p, to then use it overnight when we need it, for example. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you informed. There's an app that we can use to kind of see what we're generating. Today I think we've done generated 0.2 of a kilowatt hour. It was only connected up later this afternoon. So
then I've got a question for you. Do you need planning permission to put a solar panel on your roof?
More often than not, if they're below 200 mil off the roof, then no. If it goes anything beyond that, then yes, there are occasions where you will need planning approval. So interestingly, the guy yesterday, I asked a couple of these questions. So when you're planning, if you're a developer or an investor and you're planning to install PVs on the roof, they need to be offset by 400 millimeters from the roof edge. They need to be no higher than 200 mil above the existing roof. Each panel is about 1700 millimeters by about 1200 millimeters. The system that I've got with the 8 panels is 3.6 kilowatts, and that will do about 60% of the energy demand in the house. The payback period, I think, will be between 6 and 7 years. Could be less than that.
Return on investment. Great return on investment.
Yeah, and from what I've read, I mean, don't take this verbatim, but you know, the sort of data suggests that properties with solar panels on the roof increase your house value by up to 5%, and that's day one return on our house, you know, in the area that we're in. So yeah, it's a good investment. It's going to bring our energy bills down, and yeah, I'll let you know how it sort of performs.
I've got another question. How did you find the supplier for your PVs?
I think it was a Google search, if I'm honest.
There you go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I mean, we negotiated a little bit. I think we got 5% off because my neighbor was doing it. So I spoke to my neighbor, said, we're both doing it. Let's, you know, club together, use the same person, negotiate a bit of discount. And yeah, you know, it worked out really well in terms of the logistics of it. As soon as the scaffolding up, they've basically been in and out within 5 days. So, you know, they started works Monday. The final connection was only done today, which was a day late because the guy was ill yesterday. So yeah, they could be in and out within 3 or 4 days if everything sort of falls into place. So yeah, was a company called Drake's Renewables. Yeah, would highly recommend them. They've been super efficient, and from a cost perspective, they were good value. So yeah,
good. I think we concluded.
Is that the final piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, we were very project focused over the last couple of weeks. So it's nice to do stuff that isn't necessarily project focused.
Yeah,
but I'm sure we'll have a lot more coming up next week.
That's all on the list, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, we hope we hope next week to have some good news for some of our planning approvals. We've got a 9-unit scheme in Muswell Hill that we can hopefully talk to you all about. We've actually had a really successful week within Aura. So we've had 4 planning approvals in the last 7 days with Aura. One came through yesterday, which has been lingering for 10 months with Fulham Council. But again, that's one to really keep an eye on. So make sure you're following Aura over on Instagram and YouTube. It's a beautiful 4-story building in Fulham that we're doing a sort of semi-basement level and whole house refurbishment with a loft extension. It's for a property developer that's flipping on, and it's you know, the finishes will be stunning. So keep an eye on that one. It will be one to watch out for. Anything else that comes to the top of your mind? You want to go out for a drink?
Yeah, I need to go and wet Saul's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've fun to share. We've got a personalised hat and some gifts, so we'll be going out and sharing that. But yeah.
Nice. Excellent, good stuff. All right, well, yeah, if you don't follow us, do head over on all of the platforms to follow Jack and myself, XP Surveys, XP Property, Central Suites Limited, Aura Architecture, to keep up on the progress of those businesses as they unfold. Stay tuned till Friday next week at 5 p.m. for another session, and have a great weekend, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.
Yeah.